Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reads video. This is for week number 17 and it is April the 23rd through the 29th. Today is the 30th. Happy Sunday, everybody. It is the last day of the month. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh. So yeah. So, yeah, timestamps in the description box below, as always, if you want to jump ahead to any of the reviews that I have here today. I did finish reading 5 books this week, so I'm very happy about that. I don't have a book haul this week, didn't buy anything. My biggest purchase today, or this week, was a chair. I bought a new chair today for my other room, for the bedroom area where I sit, because I've been sitting on the bed a lot, like at night when I'm watching TV and stuff like that. And I am getting to a certain age where my back is really starting to hurt. I can't do that anymore. So Garrett and I were at the thrift store and I found this awesome chair for $20. Sold. So clean it up. We're good to go. And yeah, so I am happy about that. That was my big purchase. So no books this week, but I do have a little bit of crafting to show you. My sock. That's pretty much all I've been working on, is just doing some knitting. And I didn't show it to you guys last week, so this is like a 2-week accumulation of my knitting. But anyway, let's get into the books that I read this week. Unfortunately, I was hoping to finish more books, but 2 of the books that I read, and I'll talk about them as I get to them, slowed me down a bit in terms of the fact that maybe I should have DNF'd them. Like a soft DNF, like, oh, I'm just not in the mood to read this now. So yeah, anyway, we'll get to the first one is the first book that I want to share with you, and that is Her Darkest Secret by Jessica Art Patch. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars, so there it is, right there. I did have a copy of this as a print book. I did listen to a majority of it on audio, and it was narrated by Lisa Flanagan, so she did a great job narrating. So this story, and I'm going to be honest, at this point, I finished it on Monday. I'm like, what was it about again? So it's about our main characters, Fiona and Asa, and they used to be married. They are both like FBI people, and they're tracking serial killers, essentially. And they were married at one point, and then they divorced. Now, she is one of the victims of this serial killer, but one who got away, essentially. So she's been carrying this kind of with her entire life since she was a teenager. And it has really gotten in the way of her relationship with her husband, which is part of the reason why they divorced. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So the serial killer is back now. And she's working in a completely different city, and they kind of call her down because of her expertise. And, you know, the things kind of go from there. So there is a romance in here, but it's mostly the plot about the serial killer. So my issues with it was, because it got a 3.5 star rating, is that, and this kind of bothered me, Asa was in a relationship at the start of this book. He was dating a coworker named Amanda, and they were like in a relationship, and then all of a sudden his ex-wife shows up and he's still in the relationship with this other woman, but yet, oh, you know, I really miss my ex-wife. And I just, that is a hard line in the sand for me when you deal with a cheating. There may not have been physical cheating, but obviously emotional cheating. Like, if he's still obviously thinking a lot about his ex-wife, you know, like there was one instance where they were going to go and break into, like, not break into, but kind of go after this guy. And it was like, he picked his ex-wife, or Fiona, over Amanda to protect, essentially. So, I mean, not protect, but like to go into this house together. So yeah. And he said the rationale was because she had more experience, which may have been fine, but I don't know. That was one thing that really bothered me. I did actually enjoy the serial killer part of it. I found that part very, very intriguing. But this one was also very heavily religious. I mean, it is love inspired, so it is going to be a more inspirational type story. But it was almost, okay, so let's put it this way. I was also reading an Amish book at the same time. This was more religious than the Amish book. Seriously. So, like, one of the things that they were tracking around was, like, these people, was it at a church that this serial killer was getting his victims? That kind of an idea. So, yeah. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was good, like, right up until the end, and then the ending was kind of like, yeah. And I like Jessica Arpatch, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've read her books before. I'm not saying don't read it. Just understand that going into it, there is that bit of an aspect, which, like I said, is kind of a hard line in the sand for me. I mean, some people might have their own opinions of it, like, oh no, nothing physical happens, so it's okay. But in my mind, it's not okay. But that's my opinion, and you are up to your own opinion, right? So that is the first book that I finished this week. The second book that I finished this week, as I mentioned, was an Amish book, and this was for Amish in April. Today is the last day of Amish in April. I got 3 books in total read for the challenge, and I'm very happy about that. I wanted to get one more done, but again, I had like this book, Her Darkest Secret, and then one that I read later in the week, that both of them kind of slowed me down because I wasn't gravitating towards wanting to pick those up. But anyway, the one that I did read here was Pinecraft Refuge by Leona Worth. I gave this book 4 stars. This is the first book in the Pinecraft season series. I did listen. This was a week of audio, my friends. I also listened to this one on audio, like I had it as an ebook and on audio. And it was narrated by Connie Shabshap, I think is how you say yeah, I think that's how you say the author or the narrator's last name. This book was super cute. I really enjoyed this one, mainly because the fact that the Amish in this story were not in your typical Ohio or Pennsylvania. They were in Florida. So Pinecraft, I've mentioned this before, but in case you this is your first time hearing about this, is a community, and it's a real community outside of Sarasota, Florida, that is like the Amish vacation destination. There are year-round residents who live in Pinecraft, and they're a little bit different than their northern Amish friends and family, whereas they are actually allowed electricity. It was said in passing in the book, which I find very interesting. But they still adhere to their ways, their church services, and their religious practices, and stuff like that. So this is about our main character named Eva, who has been dealing with a lot of health problems her whole life. It sounds like she has chronic bronchitis and breathing issues and things like that. And her mother kind of hovers over her. Her father passed away years ago, and it's just been her and her mom. And her mother kind of hovers over her a little bit, and Eva's kind of like, she wants to spread her wings a bit, and her doctor actually suggests her heading down to Florida because the book takes place in February, and it's very cold up in, I think they're from Pennsylvania. And he's like, maybe go down to Florida. She has an aunt down there. Go down and visit, and maybe it'll help your health. So she does, much to her mother's dismay. Her mother doesn't want to go with her. Her mother has things to do at home, and her mother keeps demanding that she come back. So the mother was not the most likable character, to be honest, but I kind of understand where she was coming from, so I'm not going to fault her for, she had a sick... I mean, Eva wasn't young. I mean, she was in her early 20s, but it was a mother's, this is my child and I want to make sure that they're... So what she was doing wasn't coming from a place of being mean, that you're going to do as I say. It was more of a place of concern, right? So anyway, so Eva shows up in Florida, and she meets a man by the name of Tanner, who's a single father. He's a widow, and he has a young daughter. And the story goes from there. It's the relationship between the two of them. He's a very gruff, it's a happy sun. It's a grumpy sunshine kind of a romance. Is that what they call it? Where she's very cheerful and very, positive and full of life. And he's very grumpy and, wants to do things right by his daughter and things like that. So, and again, I loved the setting of Florida. That's what really sold this one for me. So like I said, it is first in a series. I am looking forward to the rest in the series. I've now found more Amish books that take place in Pinecraft. And I think another series, I can't remember the author, but there's another series of them. So I'm looking forward to reading those as well. It's just fun seeing these characters that you would, you typically are familiar with the Amish characters in that very, farm type setting of Pennsylvania, Ohio, that kind of thing, working the land and what have you, horse and buggy. But in Pinecraft, it sounds like they drive around in golf carts, which is just delightful. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. And the next book that I finished was my favorite book of the week, and that was Catching the Carling Lake Killer by Katie Richards. I loved this book. So this is the 6th book in the West Investigation series, and I did have a physical copy sent to me by the author, so thank you, Katie Richards. But I also did listen to it on audio. I kind of did both. And it was narrated by Susan Spain. So yeah, this was so good. So like I said, 6th book in the series, but you do not have to have read the series in order. The characters from the previous book make an appearance in this book because the 2 women are friends, Simone, who is our female lead in this book, and Luke. So Simone is a reporter, a journalist, and Luke is, I believe, the sheriff in town. So what's happening is that there was a serial killer 20 years ago who was killing these women, and he's kind of gone dormant for 20 years. Now all of a sudden he's back and he's killing women again. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I don't want to give too much of the plot away because it is like a thriller serial killer aspect to it. But Luke and Simone are already kind of in a bit of it is a relationship, and it's not. They're friends with benefits, if you will. And, then of course this stuff starts happening, and now Simone's being targeted by this killer, and Luke is trying to keep her safe. So of course, tensions and emotions and all the things, and it was so good. I absolutely loved it. She's kind of hiding her own secret in regards to what happened 20 years ago. I'm not going to divulge what it is. You'll find out when you read the book, but definitely read this one. Again, I mean, even if you haven't read the previous 5, you can just go ahead and pick this one up, but read the previous 5. I am actually caught up on this series now, and I love it so much. So thank you again, Katie, for sending me a copy of this. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. Can we talk about the cover for a second, please? Like, it's pretty cool. So, like, if you hold it to the side, you can see, like, it's the lake, right? So there's the trees, and then, like, the mirror, and the cover design on this was fan-freaking-tastic. So, yay on this one. Loved it, loved it. The next one was the other book that I should have just put to the side because it took me, like, 6 days to finish this book, you guys, and it shouldn't have because I had it on audio, and it is a cozy mystery, and those are usually pretty quick for me to get through. But I struggled with this one a little bit, and that was Matchmaking Can Be Murder by Amanda Flower. I gave this book 3 stars. So this is the first book in an Amish matchmaking mystery series. And like I said, I did have this one. I had it out from the library as a physical edition, but I did take it back yesterday. So that's why I don't have it here to hold up for you guys. But I did listen to it on audio as well, and it was narrated by Vanessa Daniels. So this is an offshot of the Amish Candy Shop Mystery by Amanda Flower. So I think there were a couple reasons why I struggle with this book. For those of you who have been watching me for a while, you know I cannot read series back to back because I don't know why, I just can't. I think I get caught up in the characters, and it's like, okay, maybe it's a confusion, like, did this happen in this book or this happen in this book? So this is, like I said, an offshot of the Amish Candy Shop, but a lot of the same characters that are talked about in Amish Candy Shop are in this series. So essentially you're reading another book in the Amish Candy Shop series. It's just a different main character. And our main character in this one, there's 2 of them, is Millie. And she is an older woman. She is Amish. She is a matchmaker. And she was very sweet. I liked Millie a lot. She has 2 goats named... What are the goats named? Peter and Paul or something? They both had names that started with the letter P. And they're the goats that are on the cover of the book. They were my favorite characters in this story, to be honest. I love the goats. Definitely personalities unto themselves. So she kind of has a sidekick towards the end of this book who helps her solve this murder, and it's a woman by the name of Lois. They used to be very good friends when they were younger. Lois was never Amish, but they lived down the street from each other. She was an Englisher, and they have just re-met again after 20 years and are starting their friendship up again. Lois just rubbed me the wrong way, and I can't explain why. And it's funny because I mentioned it last night during the reading sprints I was doing, and every other person's like, oh my god, I love Lois. I thought she was a great character. And I'm like, clearly it's me. I don't know what it was about her, but I didn't like her. The other thing was that Millie was kicking herself throughout the entire book because she feels that she wronged her nephew. That there was something that happened, like when he was on his Rumspringer, where, young Amish men and women can go out and kind of like paint the town red, if you will, like drive cars and drink and kind of do all the things that Englishers do to make a decision. Do they want to join the Amish church, or do they want to leave the church and become English, essentially? And I guess during this time he was quite wild and crazy, and a bike was stolen. And this is what kind of got me. I'm like, she was beating herself up the entire time, and I did not understand why. Because she said the whole reason was because the police came by to talk to Enoch, which was her nephew. and find out what was happening. And she told them where they could find him. That was it. I'm sorry. I fail to see. You didn't blame him. You didn't point your finger at him. You didn't say, oh, he's definitely the one who stole the bicycle. They would have found him anyway. She spent so much of this book beating herself up for that. I thought that was a little weird. Pardon me, sorry. So the whole murder with this one had nothing to do with the nephew. It did and it didn't. I don't want to give anything away. But her niece, Edith, is engaged to this guy by the name of Zeke, and Zeke was found dead in the niece's greenhouse, and she runs her business as a greenhouse, which is why, as you see on the cover of the book, there is a greenhouse. So yeah, they're trying to solve that murder because Edith is her fingers being pointed at her by the police because, of course, he was found in her greenhouse, right? So yeah, like I said, this book took me 6 days, and it should have not, but I think I came off of reading Peanut Butter Panic. I finished that one last week. So within a week of each other, I read these two books, kind of not back to back, but there were a couple books in between, but still they were very close to each other. And I think that's part of what it was. I did and I know other people have mentioned this, that you see some of the characters from a different perspective. There's a character by the name of Ruth, who's the bishop's wife, the Amish bishop's wife. And in the Candy Shop books, she's a force to behold. You know what I mean? Her word is law, kind of an idea, right? She's the bishop, essentially. And in this story, it was quite interesting because her and Millie had grown up together. And Millie doesn't put up with her crap. You know what I mean? Millie's taking her down a peg. Just come off your high horse, Ruth. Everything is fine. So I did like that quite a bit, seeing that, how the characters do differ when you see them from a different character's perspective. I did really like that. So will I continue on with the series? I think so. I think I'm going to give it the second book a go. I do not dislike Amanda Flower's writing. I like her stories. I like her books. I like her characters. So yeah, so that is Amish. That was my last Amish in April book. And the last book that I finished it yesterday, was Marianne Breaks the Rules by Ann M. Martin. I gave this book 3 stars. It's book number 79 in the Babysitters Club. I did have it as an ebook, and I decided to be, lazy, and I did get it on audio as well. Narrated by Emily Bauer. So in this one, this takes place it takes place at Halloween, actually. Or right leading up to Halloween. The end of the book takes place during Halloween. And Marianne is babysitting for this family, and the parents just got divorced, and the father moved far away to Texas. The stories take place in Connecticut, and the son Jake is having a very difficult time, without his dad around. His dad promised he'd be coming back up, and then stuff happened, and he couldn't come up that weekend, or whatever the case may be. So Jake's pretty bummed. So one day Marianne invites her boyfriend Logan over to play soccer with Jake, just to be a male influence. She didn't want to say anything to Jake's mom because she was like, it's not my place. I don't want her to think I think she's a bad parent, because it's nothing to do like that, but whatever. So anyway, so that's what ends up happening. And then this happens a number of times, and then they get caught. And Marianne had never mentioned it to the mother. So, then all of a sudden, the mom's really angry with her. No one said you could have your boyfriend here. And Marianne, of course, being shy Marianne, does not speak up for herself to say, this is why we were doing it. This is what was actually happening. So anyway, what really got me with this story, I like that realism in it. You've heard of this stuff happening all the time. They hire a babysitter, and the babysitter has their boyfriend come over or whatever, or has friends come over, and they're not paying attention to the kids. In this case, it was different. Logan was there to kind of babysit, hang out with, be kind of a bit of a mentor to Jake. While Marianne looked after the other 2 children, the two little girls. But again, Marianne didn't speak up for herself. But what really ticked me off was that the parents were made to be in the wrong on this one. Jake's mom was made to be in the wrong. When I'm sorry, Marianne may not have stood up for herself. What she did was from a good place, but she still didn't say anything to the parents. And as far as I'm concerned, that still needs to be addressed. You can't just go behind parents' backs as a babysitter and do whatever the heck you think is appropriate. You have to, if she had run it by and said, listen, my boyfriend's on his way home from soccer practice. Jake really wants to play. Do you mind if he stops by and they kick the ball around in the backyard? That's fine. You ask. It's just being polite. But then when Jake's mom finds out, you know, that Logan was literally never really in the house except that one time when they were having a glass of juice, all of them together. And he was always with Jake and always in the backyard, never any time with Marianne. You know, she apologizes to Marianne. No. I mean, I get it should have been like, I'm sorry, I wish I should have asked you. But on the flip side, Marianne should have opened her mouth. You know what I mean? So that kind of really annoyed me about this book. And yeah, anyway, I still do enjoy reading these. I still think they're fun. It is a Halloween book. So the next one that I have to read in the series is actually a mystery. And it's a Halloween mystery. So I'm hopefully going to be getting to that one in May. So I'm looking forward to it. And it's one of Dawn's books and it takes place in California. So yay on that one. So yeah, so those are the 5 books that I finished this week. So let me share with you all what I am currently reading. 2 brand new books, my friends. Brand new books. I haven't actually started either one of these yet. It is, right now, it's about 1:30 on Sunday afternoon. And Garrett and I were out all morning, got my new chair. But now I'm finally home. I'm going to edit this video and I'm going to sit and relax and do some reading. So I am going to be starting for my books for the month of May, or for the first week in May, I should say, is Quackery, A Brief History of the Worst Ways to Cure Everything by Lydia Kang and Nate Penderson. So I have this one from Chirp on audio, but I didn't realize I actually also have a Kindle edition of it. So I'm assuming it was on sale at some point. I bought it on Kindle. So very excited about that. So I can kind of read it and listen to it, see how we go. I have a feeling there's going to be pictures and stuff in this book. So I think maybe reading a good chunk of it on Kindle might be a good idea. So we shall see. I'm going to start here. Like I've mentioned before, like I did mention that I listened to every book last week on audio, but it was only partially on audio. It wasn't fully on audio. I only really listen to audiobooks on my way to and from work in the car, or if I'm on my lunch break at work, or if I'm in a live reading sprint or something like that, when I want to do some crafting as well. But generally, I am reading physically or digitally. So I plan on starting that one today, and I also plan on starting a thriller, and I'm very excited. It's One of Us by J.T. Ellison. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be really good. I picked this one up at the library yesterday. I talked about it in yesterday's video, that this is my library pick for the week. So not going to share too much what it's about because, again, it's a thriller, but looking forward to it. And like I said, no book haul for this week, but I thought I would show you guys my knitting. So I'm hoping to get this sock done today, or this week. That's my goal. So 2 weeks ago, this is where I was. And I've gotten all this done, including the heel. So I did put the heel in for this sock. So this is the leg, and then the foot is what I'm working on. Can you see that? So I have about 4 inches left to go in the foot, and then I'll be done this sock. And I'll actually be done this pair of socks, which is very exciting. And then I can go back to the Christmas socks that I started 2 years ago and finish the second one. And then hopefully I can cast on a brand new pair of socks. I'm very excited about that. And what I might do when it comes time for that is, when it gets close to being able to do that, is I might have you guys pick the yarn. I might pick a couple skeins of yarn and have you guys pick them in a video. We shall see how that goes. So yeah, so anyway guys, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. You know, my typical weekly wrap-ups coming this week to the channel. So I've already filmed and I need to edit it and upload it. But I filmed my library haul. My library books are right there. They're turned around, so y'all couldn't see what they are in this video. But that will be coming up on Tuesday. And then on Thursday will be my April wrap-up. I will be starting again working from home on Tuesdays. I was going into the office, but I've decided that I kind of need a break 1 day a week from driving in. So I'm going to work from home on Tuesday. So that means I have extra time both on my lunch break and in the mornings on Tuesday. So I will be filming my Thursday video on that day. That's it, guys. I'm rambling at this point. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what books you read this week. Did you read any of the ones that I read, and what did you think about them? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.